What's up, wonderful world of YouTube? It's Cody here, and I'm coming to you guys for another episode of Philosophize. So today I'm going to be talking about a video that was posted on the Rebel Media. I'm actually, a fan of the Rebel Media, even though I am pretty much diametrically opposed to their conclusions on political issues. I think that they usually do pretty good work and have a lot of valid criticisms of current leftist craziness that's going on in the world. That being said, this video was pretty infuriating to watch as somebody who knows not a lot, but a little bit about the subject that the lady talks about. I believe her name's Faith Goldy. And she's talking about Tomi Lahren. The video is called What the Frick, Tomi Lahren, about Tomi Lahren's suspension from The Blaze due to her going on The View, and she came out as pro-choice. Glenn Beck, who is the owner of The Blaze, he says, it has nothing to do with her pro-choice thing. Maybe that's true. I'm not sure about all of it, but from the outside looking in, it certainly looks like her being pro-choice is the main reason for her being fired, or being suspended, sorry. So I don't really want to discuss my stance on abortion because it really has nothing to do with this, You're entitled to think that, killing a zygote is the same thing as killing a human. You're allowed to believe that. It's a free country, of course. However, there are certain things that she says in the video which are just not true in any respect. So, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys today about, because it's actually pretty pathetic that the Rebel Media would put this kind of basically like propaganda. I mean, it's just a complete mischaracterization of the topic she's talking about. So what is she talking about? So what am I getting at here? So the main part that I want to hone in on and I really want to critique is her exposition of the science of abortion rights and the science of when it's considered a life. She makes some very startling claims, in my opinion, completely startling, and they're just not true. If you actually understand the scientific method, almost nothing that she said can actually be, agreed upon, and it isn't agreed upon. So what am I talking about here? All right, so here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, she says that it is a settled science, basically, is how she presents it, that a fetus, a zygote, is the same thing as a human life. Okay, now that claim might not seem absurd, and the other part is that she says that this is settled science. Okay, one, science isn't in the business of making definitions or clarifying definitions or drawing the boundaries between specific definitions. Okay, there is things in science, like they find a particular phenomenon in the world, let's say a black hole, and they call it black hole. Okay, right, but that's different than drawing the conceptual boundaries for particular concepts and words that we have in common parlance. So drawing the distinction between life and non-life is a philosophical question. It's not a scientific question. Okay, and as those of you who have watched my previous videos will know, I'm a big fan of Karl Popper and C.S. Peirce. The lady in the video brings up Herbert Spencer, who is actually a pretty pitiful philosopher in my opinion, and was one of the main proponents of social Darwinism. But I'm talking about actually respected philosophers. Some people like Herbert Spencer, but he's not that great. Definitely C.S. Peirce and Karl Popper had much more positive contribution to the history of ideas. So both of them believe in falsification as the way that science proceeds. They're both fallibilists. And what that means is they believe that science doesn't actually verify things. Okay, science doesn't ever make something 100% verified. Okay, all science can do is falsify. Okay, now this is a contentious claim in the philosophy of science, but my point is not to say that I 100% endorse this. My point is that to say that science has confirmed that a zygote is the same thing as a human baby out of the womb, one, isn't a scientific question. Okay, and two, it's not even clear that all philosophers of science and all practicing scientists, because C.S. Peirce was a practicing scientist, that they actually believe that science does make such declarations. So what you have here is a lady who has a bias. She's a Christian, nothing against being a Christian. She's a Christian, and so she thinks, okay, killing a zygote is the same thing as killing a life. And then she just says that's how it is. But she doesn't provide, scientists claiming that, and I saw some people in the comment section linked to some articles that were both from a Christian science site. Well, that's not unbiased news. Like, if you're only, charitable interpreters are people who believe in the exact same ideology as you, well, why would I trust them? I mean, they're going to be just as biased as you. So what I would say is that this lady was doing some pretty big confirmation bias. Okay, she has a viewpoint and she sees, oh, two scientists agree with me, therefore it's a settled question. No, it's not. Science continually critiques itself and continually revolts against older paradigms, to bring in the Kuhnian phrase that's so popular now. So it's just not true, the claims that she's making about science. She doesn't understand how science works, how science operates in reality. It's not going to tell you what is life and what isn't. It's not going to it's not a settled claim that a zygote is the same thing as a human life. That's just not settled science. It's debatable, sure, okay, but presenting it as it's just science, which is what she says at one point in the video, is infuriating to anybody who knows the first thing about philosophy of science, because that's just not how it works. You're talking about something that isn't even in the domain of science because it helps your viewpoint. She didn't present any statistics of scientists who believe that, and most 19th century scientists believed in the ether, okay, but now it's come out, according to our latest theories, after relativity, the ether was no longer needed due to the way that light propagates. The ether hypothesis was shooed away. So even if every scientist or most scientists agreed with this, it doesn't mean that it's true. Science, there's very few things that constitute as settled science, and that's the main crux of my point here. And it's not even a scientific question. So even on the science, if it was a scientific question, she's presenting a very overly simplistic view because it makes her side seem better. And then two, it's not even a scientific question here. Just because scientists sometimes delve into philosophy or work in philosophical paradigms does not mean that they then become scientific questions. No, it just means that the scientists who are asking these questions are now asking philosophical questions. She didn't seek to separate those two out or give any clarification of where this is coming from, or really present any evidence other than, well, science said it because I think that science said it. And that's not really an argument. I've given explicit arguments here against pretty much everything that she said in that video. So I would just ask the Rebel, if you're going to have people who talk about science and philosophy, please actually have them understand how the methodology works. Because otherwise you're just spreading like fundamentalist propaganda because you guys don't like abortion, and you're not going to present a reasoned debate or a reasoned critique of this kind of ideology. So I would just call on the Rebel to please take faith into a scientific class, a history of science class, and have her learn how the scientific methodology works, and that way she can actually get acquainted with how science works in the real world, and not just spread fundamentalist propaganda, because it really doesn't do your side any good, um, to make yourself seem like a reputable news organization and then just spread propaganda that doesn't even have any nuance in it, just make statements that are just, completely without justification, because it helps your side, and then just say, well, that's just science. Um, as I think I've proven here, it's not just science, and I think the Rebel could do a lot better. So, please, please, do better in the future, because it was really pathetic and infuriating to watch someone talk about something they had no conceptual understanding of. So, thanks, guys. Sorry I was away. I didn't get to do a video last week, but I'm trying to make sure that I do even more videos, and to keep this ramping up. So, thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.